Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting topic webinar. My name is Joanne Barnard, and I will be your host and panelist for today. Guys, today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the manufacturing module. So the bill of materials, otherwise manufacturing. Now, guys, this is an add-on module that is only available if you have Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Partner. Now, guys, please remember Sage 50 Cloud is just the umbrella name for Sage Pastel Accounting, whether you are running version 12, 14, 17, 18, or 50 Cloud. Now, obviously, depending which version you're running, depends on what the screens will look like, that type of thing. And guys, if you did receive the news flash, you know that you should always keep up to date with the latest software. This is for compatibility, to make sure that both your Windows and your other software is compatible with each other, but that is entirely up to you. All of those versions fit under the umbrella name Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting. Then version 19 is technically called Sage 50 Cloud. So you would need the partner version of that. If you go to Help and About, you will be able to see if you are on Partner or Express. If you are on Express, you would need to upgrade to Partner, and only then would you be able to register the manufacturing module. Now, guys, the manufacturing module is an add-on module. So it is, or bill of materials is an add-on module. So that means that you do need to pay for it. You would speak to sales, they would give you a serial number for it. And when you register online, you will see it says add-on module serial number. You enter the serial number there, and once you register, it should show in your Help and About add-on modules. Then, guys, if we click on Setup and we go to Inventory, this is where you can then go to the Bill of Materials tab. And this is just for your additional costs to make sure that you've set up your next reference number and that the entry type is correct. This is also for your picking slip where you would set the paper style assistant. So this is where you can come in and set that accordingly. By default, it's normally set to pre-printed single sheet or pre-printed continuous. So guys, this is where you set this up, and this is just because if you do have additional costs, you are going to have to set up those GL accounts. For example, labor direct and other. And these are expenses, guys. So this would fall under income and expense, and this would be under your cost of sales basically, or under an expense, because these are the costs of manufacturing these items. Now, what exactly is manufacturing or bill of materials? Basically, it is where you take raw items and you turn them into a finished product. So this could be, if we look at the food industry, a sandwich. Hold on, guys, I see that there's a question. Okay, guys, some people can't hear me, so can other people hear me okay? Sorry, guys, I just need to see if the sound is coming through. And guys, I really do need you now to please click on the question icon if you can hear me and say yes. If there is no sound, obviously none of you are going to say yes. So I'm seeing some people are saying no. Guys, can anyone hear me? You need to click on the question icon, little question mark in a speech bubble, and you need to type yes for me. I'm going to give it a minute. Okay, guys, I've just reset my system. Please let me know if you can hear me now, because I wasn't getting any yeses from everyone. So I assume the problem was my side. So I reset the system. If you can hear me now, please can you type yes via the question icon? I just need to check if it's now coming through. Okay, so the sound is now working. Guys, I'm so sorry about that. We're going to start again. Sorry about that. I honestly did not realize the sound wasn't working. So guys, welcome to the Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting Topic webinar. My name is Joanne Barnard, and I will be your panelist and host for the session. Guys, today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the manufacturing model, otherwise called bill of materials. And basically with the bill of materials, what bill of materials is it is basically where you take raw items and you turn them into a finished good. So if we look at, for example, the food industry, this could be a sandwich. A sandwich is made up of the bread, the spread that you put on the sandwich, and the cheese and the ham and the lettuce. Now, those are all individual items that you would go and buy, and then you would turn that into a ham and cheese sandwich. If we look at, for example, cabinets, you know, you would need the steel for that, or you would need the doors, you would need the screws, you would need the nuts and bolts, you would need I'm trying to think of the word, but basically you would need all the components to turn those individual items into cabinets. You may even just start from wood and turn the wood into the cabinets with all of those additional parts that you would need to buy. So basically, when you do your supply invoicing, you buy raw items and then you manufacture those items into a finished good. If we look at the computer industry, a computer is made up of many different components. It's not just, hey, here's a computer. We know when we get a computer, we're getting a screen, we're getting the box, we're getting the mouse, we're getting the keyboard. But you can build your own computer, even just the box, which is a CPU, it is a motherboard, it is a hard drive, it is a DVD reader. All of those are components of the actual tower. A graphics card, a screen card, a network card. So you can buy those all separately and then put it together. So that's what manufacturing is, when you buy the raw material and then you turn it into something else. Now, when you purchase bill of materials, this is only available in partner. So this is where you guys saw I went to help and about. So in Sage Pastel Accounting, or Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting, which is again, guys, an umbrella name we use for a number of versions, whether you are on version 12, 14, 17, 18, or version 19, commonly called Sage 50 Cloud. It all falls under that umbrella name. Please bear that in mind. We know version 19 we did also call Sage 50 Cloud, but your Pastel Accounting still falls under that. Obviously, though, if you are on a lower version, some of these screens might look different. But we're talking about the partner version, not the express version. So if you go to help and about and you see you're on express, you would need to upgrade to partner, and then you would need to get hold of sales and request bill of materials. They will give you a serial number, and when you register, especially online, you will see there will be a part where it asks you add on module serial number, and you will take that serial number and you will put it from your invoice in that box, and it will register it here when you complete it, and it will be under the modules. And guys, that is for a number of these modules that it will put it under here for you. But this is where you'll see bill of materials. Only when bill of materials reflects here will you then be able to go to setup and inventory. And when we go to setup inventory, sorry guys, this is where bill of materials will become available to you, and you can click on that and then you can set up your additional costs. Now, additional costs are the costs involved in actually making this item. So guys, some people, they don't have additional costs. They're just like, hey, I'm not really going to charge for taking, you know, this raw material and turning it into a pie or turning it into a sandwich, you know. It's not that there aren't actually costs to that. It does still cost time and it does still cost electricity. So technically you should always set that up, but some people choose not to. So you need to think about that. Other than the cost of the raw items, what does it cost me to take these raw items and turn them into this finished item? Does it cost me labor? Does it cost me electricity? Does it cost me whatever it's costing you other than the raw item? And guys, then you need to use that. Maybe it costs you water because water is part of the function. And you need to know what that'll cost and break it down accordingly. And this is where you can come and enter your descriptions. They do not need to be labor, direct, and other. So if we're cooking a pie, electricity would be a direct cost because we're always going to use electricity. So guys, you can change that. Unfortunately, you can only have 3 accounts for that. So you need to think what they are. And you would put what works here for you. It's like maybe you don't use the labor. You're like, you know what, their salary is their salary. I'm not going to include that in the cost of this item. You know, so you might use other stuff, but that's up to you and you need to work that out. If you're not sure how to work it out, guys, please speak to a business partner or an accountant who does understand how this works and say to them, look, this is what it takes. What should I call this stuff? Then guys, you set up your next reference number here and the entry type would be the manufacturing journal. Guys, these GL accounts are income and expense because this is an expense to your business. Now, obviously, you can add these expenses as the cost of the sale on that finished item so that you can recoup them, but they are still seen as an expense. And then you can set up your paper style assistance. So this is for your picking slip. That is when, you know, you're going to manufacture and you have a picking slip that'll tell your staff, hey, we need to manufacture this computer. We've got 5 clients who've ordered these computers, guys. You need to manufacture them. Or we, you know, we're in a restaurant and people have ordered X food. We need to manufacture it. And that's where your picking slip comes in. Okay, guys, if you lost sound, I just need to check if the sound has completely gone for everyone. Guys, I'm not sure why my sound is being lost, but if you can hear me, please type yes. So guys, can everyone hear me? Okay, so it's just these few people. So guys, if the sound does disappear for you, so there are 2 types. Obviously, if no one says yes, it's a me problem and I need to fix it. But the vast majority of people can hear me. Let me know. But guys, if you lose sound, the first thing to do is press F5 or Control F5. If that doesn't work, let me know. I will check if everyone can hear me. If everyone can hear me, you may have to exit and enter again. If your Internet Explorer or your, you know, Chrome, Firefox has been on too long, they do time out and the screen could freeze or you could lose sound. So pressing F5 or Control F5 or re-entering the web address will just refresh it. So the majority of people are hearing me okay, so it's not a me thing again. So to the 2 people who couldn't hear me, I'm so sorry. Hopefully what I entered in the chat will help. But guys, obviously you do need to set this up. Then guys, once you set that up, you need to go and enter your recipes or your bill of materials. Now guys, obviously bill of materials is made up of a number of components, but the main thing is the bill of materials themselves. Sorry guys, some people are still having issues. Okay. So guys, the main thing, while you can do all of these other things and I will explain them, bill of materials is the crux. This is where we enter the recipes or the actual bill. So to make it easier, I often do use food or computers. And obviously in the demo, it does use computers and it is already set up. But this is where you would come in and you would start to add your bill of materials or the recipe. So you're going to go, okay, I've got these raw items. Firstly, you're going to enter the code. Now, guys, while yes, you can enter the code here for the bill of material, that code then gets, so that code then gets linked to an item. So you need to also have the enter an item code. So either you need to add here if you don't have it, and a lot of the time people use the same code as the bill of material just to link it together. So when you are entering your master file information for your items, whether it is raw items or the finished goods, you're going to have to create an item code for those finished goods so that you can link it to the bill, because you're going, look, this is the inventory code. So when I go and manufacture, and guys, you're going to have to do this in the system in order to bring in your items, to take those raw items that you have ordered from your suppliers and convert them to that finished item so you can sell it. That is what this process is. So when you go in and you go to test 001, for example, and go, hey, I need you to create 5 of these, it's going to take all of the stuff in your components and it's going to convert it into keyboard 001. That's what it's going to do. So to show you this, this is my computer. So I've now got my components, I've entered all of my items, and I'm going to enter my components. I'm going to say what makes Soho 200. So there's my Windows operating system. There's my word processor, my spreadsheet software, so my Excel, my speakers, my modem. So guys, this is obviously really old because I don't think any of us have a 96K modem anymore. My screen, my mouse, my processor, my RAM, my hard drive. So we can see all the different components. And then I put in the quantity of each component. So in my case, I'm like, this is one of each because it's a computer. But again, if we were talking about food, I might need to then decide, hey, I am a restaurant. How am I going to do this? Or I make, for example, cleaning supplies. and I need to work in grams. So you need to look at that and go, okay, what do I use the most? Now, guys, if you do use kilograms, fine, but you need to check what you use the most. Is there ever a time where you use grams or milliliters? And if that is the case, you need to then work in the smallest quantities. While yes, you could use liters and kilograms and work in decimals, which is fine. And if you use milliliters or, you know, millimeters or whatever very seldom, you can of course then work in centimeters or meters or kilometers, whatever it is, liters as opposed to milliliters or kilograms instead of grams. But you need to also work that out and think about it, because when you're buying from your supplier, you may be buying in bulk, which is fine. But when you need to do your recipes, you don't want to sit here going, wait, is it 0025 or is it 025? You need to make sure that your recipes are set up correctly. So make sure that you are setting the system up correctly, or else, guys, you're going to have a problem. Now, yes, working in 3 decimals could make this a little bit harder, but guys, again, it's not impossible. You obviously can do that. And it's totally fine. Where the system becomes really difficult is where financially you work in 3 decimals. So guys, you would set that up. If you are using multi-stores, then of course you also need to set up the store for the item, and for the finished item, you would then need to make sure that the stores are all set up correctly, and you may need to have a bill of material per store. So Soho JHB, Soho Cape Town, Soho Durban, kind of thing. But you would set it up accordingly. Now, guys, it uses the average cost and the last cost. So both are filled in here. And it gets that from the edit inventory item file when you are doing your supplier invoices. You can't change those. The only thing you can do is enter those direct components. So is labor part of this? Is a direct electricity cost involved, a water cost, etc. And other would be for all the other stuff. And it will add that to the cost of the item. Then you go to the selling price, and this is where you decide, how am I going to set up this calculation? What am I using? Am I using a percentage markup on cost? Or am I going to use the components additional selling prices? So what do I want to use? Markup percentage on cost is, hey, the cost is X, so I want you to use a 5% increase or a 10% increase on the cost of the item. Components, on the other hand, additional selling prices, are you will enter the selling price on the additional components. So you'll go, this is the cost, this is the increase I want to put on those costs, and it will sort out the selling price accordingly. And then, guys, you can add your notes and a picture if you want. And that is how you set up your bills. So you would set those all up and you would save them accordingly. Then if we look at manufacturing, you can also set up kit item codes. So this is, for example, if we stay with computers or in the computer industry, let's take PS5 bundles, for example. This would be a bundle. So I would be like, hey, I'm going to give you a bundle, and if you get this bundle, you're going to save 700 Rand. Guys, please bear in mind I'm a gamer, hence why I went to PS5, because their bundle's out. If anyone's interested, it's probably already sold out. They started at 9. But anyway, guys, a bundle is basically, hey, we're going to give you, for example, the PS5, 2 controllers, and a game, all for 12,999 Rand, save 300, or whatever it is. So it is a bundle of individual components that you are putting together. If you go to the movies, you know that, yeah, you could just get popcorn and you could just get a drink, but they sell combos. They sell kit items and they bundle it together and go, look, you could buy it all separately, but it's going to be 20% cheaper if you buy your Coke, your popcorn, and your chocolate as a bundle, and we'll call it combo one. So guys, that's what kit items are. It's where you sell bundles. Now, when you're selling the bundles, again, you'll put your components in, and these are the item codes. You'll give your kit item a code, so combo 1, combo 2, whatever it is, and you will enter them accordingly, and you can have your notes and your pictures. And then, guys, if we look again, you've got the copy bill of material kit item codes. And this is really useful if you've got very similar bill of materials or kits. So for example, if we take the movies, you know, the difference between combo 1, combo 2, and combo 3 is maybe just the size. Hold on, guys, I think the sound. Guys, is the sound bombing out? If the sound is bombing out, please let me know by saying bombing out. Otherwise, if you're okay, just type yes. Okay, so guys, it seems to just sadly be with that person. Guys, someone raised their hand. If you do have a question, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer questions. So I do look for questions. But guys, if the sound is disappearing, let me know immediately. So I know that I do keep checking, just because obviously initially there was a major problem with my sound. So I just want to make sure we're not having network issues again. Okay, so guys, this, as I said, is important if it's just a little bit different. Like we said, if we take the movies, maybe it's a difference between a small, medium, and a large. And to have to go and select all the same things again, you know, you might just want to copy it. Or let's say the difference, if we take PS5, maybe the difference between combo 1 and combo 2 is you get 1 video game, and in combo 2 you get 2. So it's easier to copy the bill of materials or the kit item code and just add the missing components, or just change the amount that the person is going to get through it, instead of obviously, you know, having to redo everything over and over and over again. You can just create copies and tweak it a little bit. So that's a really nice feature. And then the other feature that we have is to replace a component. So maybe for whatever reason, you know, the bread that you use. So you normally get ciabatta from Checkers, but you see that Checkers is out of the ciabatta, and you're going to have to go and get olive ciabatta instead of just plain ciabatta. Guys, in order for you to go through each and every code, because maybe it's the ciabatta for that day that is different, or you're going to have to get it from Pick and Pay, whatever it is, you know, you're going to have to go with paninis instead of ciabatta, because there is no ciabatta bread. Instead of you now having to go through every single one of your sandwiches, and you've got 10 bill of materials that are sandwiches that use ciabatta, you can just go, hey, I need you to go find chia 001 and replace it with pan 001 for panini. And that's what you're going to do. Everyone's going to have to get paninis this time. Sorry guys, ciabatta was out. And it's a lot quicker because it will replace that item on all of the bill of materials. Or maybe guys, the component that you were getting, that supplier tells you, hey, I'm not going to stock this anymore, sorry, and you go and find a replacement. Instead of now having to go through all of your hundreds of bills to see, oh, did I use this and how many did I use it in? You can just replace it in the bill and the kit code, in only the bill or in only the kit code. So guys, that is on your edit side. Does anyone have any questions with that? Are there any questions with the fact that you need to first have item codes for both your raw and finished items? You have to set up your direct labor and indirect GL accounts, and then guys, you need to go and create your bills. Sadly guys, no, you cannot import your bills. There's no import function in case someone was going to ask. It is a suggestion guys that we have asked them, can we import the bills via a CSV file or text file? So it is there as a suggestion. But if anyone asks, because often when I run this, that is a question that is asked, no guys, you can't import it. So even changing the components, the replacement side, if you need to change an entire recipe, it's very manual. So it's not automated at this point. But if you do have any questions, let me know. Question icon, type in your question. But guys, that is obviously setting it up, and it is critical that you get that right. It's like when you set up the items, guys, it's also critical that on the setup inventory, you make sure for manufacturing that your groups are correct. So that all plays a role. So normally with the groups, we would often have raw material, and maybe you will have, sorry guys, I'm so not spelling correctly today, raw with a W, not an M. If I spelled material wrong, guys, I'm really sorry. I do have a touch of dyslexia, so sometimes I can't see it. You may have a work in progress. So guys, maybe you get raw items, you manufacture components of the finished item, which would be a work in progress. So the wood to the cabinet door to the cabinets. And then you have finished goods. And you may go and choose to create general ledger, sales, cost of sales, and even your inventory control account. You may choose to create sub-accounts for raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods, so that you can, on your GL, separate that. And again, guys, it's critical to make sure that you have already worked all of this out. What units of measurement am I going to use? Are my groups set up correctly? Is my GL correct for manufacturing? Because you don't want to go and do this after you've set that stuff up. You start processing manufacturing and then you're like, oh, this doesn't look the way I want. This is something that you need to make sure. The setup, like everything, is really important, because if your setup is wrong, guys, what you're going to find is that you're going to get nonsense out, and then you're going to be like, this thing doesn't work, and you want it to work. Again, guys, as well with groups, please don't skip and do like, oh, I'm not going to fill in 6. You are only skipping to group things for your human brain. Pastel does not understand skips, and sometimes that can cause an issue. So please consecutively do not skip and start typing here and then skip. No. One after the other until you've used all the lines with groups. But guys, you set up your groups, you set up your GL, you make sure everything is in place, then you bring in your recipes, and only once you've done that are you ready to start processing. Now, unfortunately, you can't process on the fly. So if you do a customer invoice and you do not have enough items for manufacturing, and you don't allow negative quantities, guys, it's going to tell you, hey, you don't have enough quantities, and you are going to have to exit everything, come into process manufacturing and process from here. So it's really important that you do that. Now, guys, a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll just allow negative quantities. It's fine. Then I'll go manufacture. And while you can do that, please just remember with negative quantities not to tick that option, make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, because when you do that customer tax invoice, it's going to make the cost of that item a big fat 0. And then you're going to have an overinflated GP. So guys, please just bear that in mind. I do stress, do not allow negative quantities unless you understand the implications. You will need to do journals to fix your cost of sales and stuff, because your GP will be overinflated, and SARS will do the happy dance and tell you to pay them a hell of a lot of money. And you're going to be like, but I ain't this profitable. And that's because you allowed negative quantities, and the average cost freezes the moment that item goes below 0. So it's not going to update that average cost until it's in a positive again. So those are the implications. And if you tick that option, make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, well, then your item cost is 0. And you can manufacture all you like, guys, unless it goes to a positive, it's going to keep a 0 cost, and it's not going to update that average cost at all. So please bear that in mind. Then to manufacture, this is where you come to manufacture. You select your period, you select the date, and guys, then you enter the bill of materials that you are going to manufacture. Now, if you do not have enough quantities on hand, it will show in red, and it will tell you, hey, you can't really manufacture because you need X and you only have Y. So for example, guys, can it be select? Oh, sorry, guys, I have a stock take happening. So you can see the number of errors that just happened. I did not check that. I do apologize. But guys, if I had to enter 10 there, some of those items need 5 units, for example. It would go into red and it would tell me this is what you have, this is how much you need. And again, that is where you can quickly go do a supplier invoice, or you can do a goods received note, and you can bring those items in, or you can quickly order them and put them on back order. Now, normally the workflow is it's a sales order or it's a performer invoice, and you're going to turn this performer invoice into a tax invoice. And basically, when you do this manufacturing, that is where it's going to give you your picking slip, and you are going to send that to your warehouse or to your manufacturing plant and be like, hey guys, here the picking slip is, this is what I need you to manufacture. Now, actually guys, if you give me a sec, what I'm going to very quickly do is I'm just going to exit this, because I was sure that I had done that, but I obviously did not. And guys, it is always really important to read the messages, because had I just clicked OK, we probably would have been here all day and I would have been like, why doesn't my system want to do this? So if I now enter 10, we can see that I need 10 of these items. But let's look, this is already saying to me, hey, if you do this, you're going to be completely out of your spreadsheet software. But here it's telling me, hey, you don't have enough super mice with the pad. So I need to go and order these. So this is where it's really nice, guys, and I can see, oh, I have a problem. I can only make 5 of these items at this point in time because I don't have enough to make 10. If you are using serial number tracker, guys, this is also where you would need to select your serialized items. Oh, okay. Don't know why it Yeah, you're a little confused, system. Not sure why it did that, but guys, just go out and in again. So you can see it keeps going 1 of 1. I might need to run a stock fix here because it should be 1 of 5. So guys, obviously this has a little bit of an issue. If you get this problem, my advice would be try to close. So exit the program, come back in. If that still happens, please run a stock fix and see if the stock fix works. You may also have to run the serial number fix. Just saying. Because here it is showing 5, but on this screen, as we can see, it's still saying 1. So guys, in this instance, I would run a stock fix. I would see if that works. If that doesn't work, I would run the serial number fix. But basically, you need to enter 5, and then you would click on manufacture. Now, guys, it's really important if you have multi-warehouse to select the correct store to manufacture from and to. And when you unmanufacture, guys, this happens a lot where people do choose to unmanufacture, and then they'll be like, oh, I totally chose to unmanufacture this, and my store is completely wrong and it's not working. And that is because they manufactured to like Cape Town, but they're unmanufactured from Joburg. So just make sure that that is correct on unmanufacture. And guys, you would use unmanufacture if you made a mistake. And that is basically like how manufacturing works. So you edit everything, you then manufacture. Once you've manufactured, it turns the raw materials into the finished items, and then you can sell. And then guys, from there, you view your report. So if you want to view your bill of materials, this is just a list of the bill of materials that you have available. And it will give you the components, it will tell you the quantities, and it will tell you the selling prices accordingly. So that is just a list of your bill of materials. You can see the material requirements. So if you don't want to have to go in and check, you can also come here and go, okay, I need to see what I need to order. So I want to make 10 of these. If you want to see a preferred supplier, so this is obviously with your minimum and maximum, your reorder assistant. You can set that up. And guys, here I can see exactly what I need, and it's going to tell me what I am short. So that's really useful. Instead of you going in, trying, and then being like, oh, flip, I can't manufacture this. You can just go to your requirements. Your order trail is exactly that, guys. It is an order trail. What it'll do is it will tell you what was manufactured and unmanufactured where. So it's basically like your detailed ledger for manufacturing. That's where people go, manufactured to Joburg, but unmanufactured in Cape Town. What's happening? We'll have to reverse things and fix things. Your kit codes, again, guys, it's just the list of kit items and what makes them up. And then components used. So what is used where? And guys, what you can do is you can check a specific component. So for example, my example with the ciabatta bread and the paninis, you can go, hey, how bad is it if we don't get ciabatta? How many recipes will be missed? You know, if it's 1 or 2, cool. How many have I used? Okay, and guys, that is basically manufacturing. Now, someone said they need to understand the group setup. Now, the group setup is more part of inventory itself. So this, I went over it very basically because when you set up your inventory groups, this is part of inventory. It just falls into manufacturing because manufacturing also deals with inventory. But your integration group is basically, these are the groups as I set up on my items. So when you create items, whether they are service items or physical items, guys, you set inventory groups. Now, people will be like, what is the difference between categories and groups? Categories are just where you are saying, hey, I run a restaurant and I make sandwiches, I make pancakes, and I make tramezinis. And those are three very separate things. And I'm going to categorize my stuff by this. But your integration inventory groups link back to your general ledger. So when you are setting this up, you are literally going, hey, this is my inventory, and when I pull a trial balance, this is how I want my inventory to work. And you have two options. You can either integrate your inventory to your general ledger, which is called perpetual, or you can use the periodic system, which is non-integrated inventory. Now, integrated to your general ledger means that it updates in real time the quantities, the financial values, whereas periodic does not. Non-integrated means that it doesn't integrate to your general ledger. It just writes the sale and the cost of the sale, but you need to go and do a stock take to check that the theoretical, or to actually fix the quantities and go, oh, actually I sold X. So you need to, one, if you don't get this, guys, you need to chat to an accountant because they explain it a lot better than I do. And if you don't know what you should be using, I cannot tell you. Saying which one do you think is better? That is entirely dependent on your setup. Guys, remember that we can't tell you how to process, and we cannot tell you, hey, you have to do it this way, because if you don't do it this way, X, Y, Z are going to happen. I can tell you how Pastel can work. I can tell you what options you have, but you need to chat to an accountant for them to be able to say, hey, you've told me X, Y, and Z about your company. So the best option is for you to work in a periodic inventory setup or to work in a perpetual periodic setup. Integrate your GL. It's going to be or integrate your inventory to the GL. That's the best way for you. They can also help you with your groups. So as I said, guys, with manufacturing, what we see commonly, and this may not be the best fit for you, is people normally do raw items or raw goods. They do work in progress, and then they do finished goods. I cannot tell you if this is the best way or not, but this is how people use those groups that I've seen quite commonly, and then they will go and create sub-accounts in their general ledger for that. The reason for that is when they pull their trial balance, they can choose to drill down to the sub-accounts or not. So they can see with their inventory how much is still in raw items, how much is a work in progress, and how much are finished goods. But you may not want to do this. You may go, hey, I'm really not interested in that. What I'm interested in, for example, and I've seen this too, guys, is what I'm interested in is I'm interested in sandwiches, tramezinis, and pancakes. That's what I'm interested in. I want to see what is my best seller, what is my biggest seller, where should I focus on more? And you may be more interested in the totally finished items and classifying the finished items. And this is what groups can help you do based on your general ledger. So you can go and create sub-accounts. But again, guys, you need to go to an accountant to make sure that your setup is correct. I cannot sit here and say, oh, this is how I think you should run your inventory. This is up to the company. This is how your company works. We are not accountants. We cannot give you that info. Guys, very much like, yes, I am aware of this. Cancel. No. Guys, very much like if you come and go, hey, can you tell me how to process this specific thing? I need to write off a customer amount. Guys, I cannot tell you which general ledger accounts to use. I basically do know how to do it because writing off bad debt is writing off bad debt. But still, guys, it is better that you go to an accountant. We can tell you how the product works, how Sage is meant to work. And if it's not working correctly, we can look into that for you. So that's why I'm like, I can tell you roughly how it works. I just can't give you an exact, hey, this is how to do this for your company. So I hope that explanation helped. Do you understand groups a bit better? Does it make sense? Yes, basically it's splitting your costs of sale or splitting your sales and your cost of sales. Because remember, when you set up your general ledger accounts, you need to choose, hey, how am I going to work? And again, it depends on the add-on modules you have. Guys, if we work, for example, with multi-stores, you may want to split the sales account into regions. If we are working with bill of materials, you may want to split the sales account into the different groupings, your different categories. So it depends on what you're working with. So you would have your 1,000 accounts, and then I'm going to have, for example, 001 sales JHB, for example, or sales sandwiches. Then when I set up that group and I go, hey, my group is sandwiches, I'm going to go, okay, it's 1,001 for sandwiches. So when I view my TB, I can see sandwiches out of the 50,000 sales for March was 15,000 for sandwiches. Basically, that's what your groups are there for. It's so that you can have a better idea of your financial position based on those groups. So it's just so that you can drill down further, and you don't need to do that if you don't want to. But again, guys, you need to make sure you've set that up. And then the other thing that I pointed out is consecutive. Do not skip lines. Do not like, okay, I'm going to have sandwiches in row 3, then I'm going to have Tramezzini in row 6 and skip 4 and 5. Please don't, guys, one after the other. It's just when you pull reports for inventory, sometimes if there's that break, Pastel thinks it means that it's gotten to the end of the report, and then you see groups are missing and it's very confusing. One after the other. Guys, does anyone have any other questions about manufacturing? Do you understand how it works? Do you understand how everything comes together? Is there any questions with regards to manufacturing or inventory, since we are talking about inventory? Guys, please use the question icon. Let me know. For those of you who don't have questions, guys, that is the basic overview of inventory. It's how inventory works. It's how inventory fits together. It's how manufacturing works, and it's how manufacturing fits together with inventory. If you don't have any questions, you're welcome to leave. That would be it for the session. Our next session, I think, is on the 8th of June. And it is on the overview of Sage Intelligence. Guys, I need to specify it's the overview of Sage Intelligence. It's not errors on Sage Intelligence. So I'm going to explain how Sage Intelligence basically works. And it's going to be very basic, guys. So please just bear that in mind. Will manufacturing be available on Sage Business Cloud Accounting or Sage 1? To my knowledge, yes, they are looking into it. It should eventually be available. It is logged as a suggestion, but guys, I cannot tell you when that might be, I'm afraid. I don't have a timeline. I know it's been logged for a number of years. I will raise it with the dev team again, but I do know that they do want to eventually look at that, yes. Guys, you will get the recording. You should get the recording tomorrow by 11. If you do not get that recording by 11:30 latest, please send me an email, joanne.barnard@sage.com. I will put it in the chat. And just let me know, hi Joe, I didn't get the recording. Please can you send me the recording of the item and of the webinar, and I will send it through to you. Okay, so guys, someone wants to know what the negative item issue impact is. So guys, as I said, if you allow negative items, so that is if you go to setup and you go to inventory. Now, again, we need to understand how Pastel works. Now, Pastel works on average cost. And hopefully this will open soon. And guys, I will show you where it updates average cost now. But when you are here, you can allow negative items. So you can allow your inventory to fall below 0. Now, if you tick that, there's an option here to make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand. This is more dangerous if both of these are ticked than just having inventory fall below 0 ticked. And guys, the reason why I say it's dangerous and you might not want that is if we look at an item's cost, Pastel works on average cost. So if we see here, this cost is 2,240. So what Pastel does, and guys, if I'm not mistaken, and I really hope that I have done this, because I lost all of my very, very cool documents that I used to have on this, but I really hope that I've done this if you do need it. I can't remember what I called it. And I really hope this is what I called it. Okay, so guys, if we look here, you can see how costs are worked out, and you can come here and you can look at it. But basically, there's the average cost and the last cost. And the average cost would be, hey, we've got 10 items at 100 Rand. And then we purchase 10 items at 110. Basically, it works out the average, and then it has to work it out again to go, oh, actually, the new average now, because we have 20 items, is actually 105. So it goes, these are the items we had on hand at 110, but now we have another 10 items, and it is 10 Rand more. So 10 plus 10 is 20, and then obviously we look at that average cost. So we've got 20 items, because 10 plus 10, and then we had a cost of 1,000 and a cost at 1,100, which is 2,100, and then it takes that whole cost and it divides it by the number of items left. So like guys, if we had sold one item, it would have been 19, and then it works out the average cost. So you can go and look and see how this all works. But then if we look at that, it then goes, okay, per item, this is the average cost. Now, if you choose to tick the option, make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, the moment this item gets to 0, it is going to zero out this average cost. So when you sell the item, because you're now on negative 20, and you're like, hey, I'm just selling this item, it is going to, because when you sell an item, you sell it at let's say this item is 3,500. It's going to sell it at 3,500. Now, what normally happens, sorry guys, I'm a visual person, so I hope this helps. So what normally happens when you sell an item is you have the cost of sale, you have the sale minus the cost of the sale, which equals your gross profit. So if it's 3.5, it should be minus 2,240. And no, guys, I can't do that sum in my head. I know that I should, but it's going to be easier if I just do this. Which is 160. So it should be 1060. Okay, that is the profit that you get on selling this item. But if you make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, now this is false. This is not true. You do not make 3,500 back on that item because there is actually a cost of the sale. But because you tick that option and stayed below 0, you're going to have a cost of sale of 0. Likewise, if, for example, this item goes below 0, so it was 3.5 per item, and now it becomes 4,000 per item. And we take in, we had 3 items at 3.5. Sorry. And then we bring in another 3 items at 4,000. Now, this is obviously 12,000. And that's like 1,500 less, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah. So we can see that. But if this freezes here, so if we had to now go, for example, technically this should now be, we should add those two together. So that plus 12,000 equals 22,500. Divided by 6 should give us a new average of 3,750. So that is what our new average should be, 3,750. But because you have fallen below 0, it's not going to write that 3,750. It's going to write 3,500 as the cost. And the problem with that, if we look at it, is that this is incorrect by 250 per sale. And now you can see this creates a huge discrepancy because your cost of sale, again, is going to be undervalued by 250 just for this one item every time you sell it. So again, your GP is going to be inflated. They are going to say you are making more profit on the sale than what you are making. And the thing is, when SARS tells you, hey, come, you owe me money, they don't care if your system is wrong. So you need to bear this in mind before you look at your tax and go, oh yeah, okay, my tax to SARS is X. You need to make sure, or when you obviously submit to SARS yearly, guys, you need to check these things and make sure that your accountants are making sure that your cost of sale is actually correct so that SARS doesn't look at your gross profits, your turnover for the year and go, thank you, I would like an extra 10 grand. And you're like, but this is wrong. That is the implication of negative quantities. Either it freezes the average cost, so it doesn't update and it'll stay at 3.5, for example, or if you make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, it writes with a big fat 0. Does that make more sense? Why does Pastel allow this? Well, one, because you select the option if you allow if you're going to allow average cost, make average cost 0 when 0 on hand, in the nicest way I can say this, and guys, I mean no disrespect to everyone or anyone who does this, you do not understand why that tick is there, and it sounded like an awesome thing to you and you ticked it. So sadly, that would be one of the reasons, which is why I educate you guys on what that means. The other reason why it freezes, honestly, guys, it's probably to do with the way they coded it. Yes, it is in our list of things, and I can chat to Dev about it again. But the other thing is coding, and unfortunately, I'm not a coder. So it would be how they coded it. And I don't know, because it's a negative value, and I can chat to Dev about it. I haven't actually done it, so I'll chat to them. I think we have a meeting in 2 weeks, but it could be mathematical. So if you try to times a negative value, it could just be that mathematically it doesn't work. I don't know. Because think about it, if you go minus 25 times 300, and guys, I don't know, again, my maths is abominable. It could just be that this is causing a major issue when timesing that, because a negative minus a negative minus a negative. But it could be a mathematical thing, and I'm spitballing here, but my honest answer to you is it's how they coded the system originally, and I don't think that they realized it had that impact. That was something that we realized when people come to us and they go, hey, I'm looking at my, so guys, some of you may have this issue, and it's just things that we've realized with Pastel, but when you look at inventory, and you view your detailed ledger versus your inventory valuation. Again, guys, there will always be differences. Please understand that. There will always be a difference, because when you input the value on the supplier invoice, it is the actual cost. Remember that. But when you sell an item, it equals the average cost. And guys, a lot of systems use average cost. Now, the difference between these two should not be that hectic, guys, depending obviously on your turnover. For some people, it's a couple of hundred. For other people, it's a few thousand. If you're doing, billions of rands of sales, probably having tens of thousands out between the two is not that big a deal. It depends on the percentage based off of your sales or your turnover. So I'm not going to go, guys, if you have like tens of thousands of, if there's a tens of thousands of rands difference between your detailed ledger and your cost of and your inventory valuation, it's wrong. Guys, honestly, it's a percentage based off of your turnover. If you are doing billions of rands of sales, tens of thousands difference is probably not that big a deal to you if it's not that high. But so some people it'll be hundreds, some people it'll be thousands. But guys, if for example you're doing 7 million worth of turnover, but you have a 4 million discrepancy, that is a big problem. And obviously we've had people come to us and there are reasons for that difference. So something that we found is if you make use of additional costs, invoices. So you import goods and you need to put the import fee onto those items. So when people do a return and debit to return those items, it does not take into consideration the additional cost invoice. You need to return both. And a lot of people didn't realize that. They were like, but I've returned these items. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't reverse or do a return and debit for the additional costs. So it didn't take that into consideration. So there can be a variance for that reason. Obviously, we found the other variance was the fact that when you allow negative items, it freezes the average cost. Now, guys, the truth is that you really shouldn't be allowing negative quantities to begin with, because I do understand people saying, yeah, but I do it. Yeah, it should be a, hey, I'm going to allow this for this moment, but I'm going to fix that immediately. Not I'm going to have 3,000 items in negative because I just don't ever let my items go to positive. The negative thing should be a, hey, I don't know why the system thinks I'm in negative. I'm letting it think I'm in negative just in case, but I'm not. So I'm going to process this transaction. And at the end of the month, I'm going to make sure everything's okay. So guys, this also should not be a way that you process. Processing in negative continually isn't good. I don't know if that helps either. Okay, so guys, the removal of the cost, what I'm talking about is a tick. So just a tick. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry if that didn't make sense. So when I said make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand, so some people don't understand what this is, and that's why I said it's dangerous if you don't understand. Guys, when we do this tick should only be here, like for example, if I am saying, you come to me and you go, Joe, listen here, something is really wrong. My detailed ledger reverse, my inventory valuation has hundreds of thousands out. Our turnover isn't that big. It's like 40% of our turnover. I don't know what's happening. Guys, this is where we might say make average cost 0 when 0 is on hand. This is to fix your average costing because something could have gone wrong. So this is what I'm talking about. But some people don't like that Pastel uses average cost. And so they see this and they go, this will make Pastel use the actual cost. I love this. This will be so much easier for my detailed ledger and my valuation to be closer together. And they tick this option. Now, guys, I don't even like this ticked if you don't allow inventory to fall below 0. Because again, guys, when you do that valuation, remember, Pastel believes that you have specific stock on hand. It's called a theoretical value, but you have a physical quantity on hand. It's why at the year end, one of the things you have to do if you use physical inventory is do a stock take, because Pastel doesn't know things get broken, or sadly, people steal stock items. So those are things Pastel has no idea about. So you could have received stock from a supplier and it's been in your storeroom. And when you do your stock take, you see that, oh no, rats somehow got into my flour, or, you know, oh, flip, you know, we had that horrible storm and this bucket of, you know, rusks fell onto my flour and burst open like 3 bags of flour. You know, that stuff that you don't know. Or guys, hey, somehow we're short on stock that we've counted, which means someone had sticky fingers. And Pastel doesn't know that. So when you do that, you're going, hey, Pastel thinks I have this, but actually I have this. Guys, hold on. My audio is telling me my internet's being dodgy. Guys, let me know if my sound goes. Luckily, normally I get warned, which I did. But guys, so when we talking about that, you can see that that happens. Now, my problem with ticking this option is, what if, for whatever reason, Pastel thought that you had sold everything and that you had 0 on hand, but actually you have 3 items on hand? When you go and do your valuation, it's going to say that you have 0 on hand, but it's not going to match up to stuff. So I honestly believe this should only be ticked if you are fixing the average cost. But guys, again, I can't stop you from doing this. And if you know the downfalls of doing it, that's fine. So just to the person who said, I don't get it removing the cost entirely, only if this option is ticked. That's the only time. That's why I said, please be careful of this tick, because it has very bad consequences. And I've seen those consequences and they're not good. So guys, Again, as I said, if you're doing a stock take as well and it thinks that you had 0 on hand, but you had 3, again, in that stock take, when you do a stock take, it pulls from the average cost. If it thinks that average cost is 0, it's going to write an adjustment of 3 items, but it's going to write it at 0 cost. So it's just, I don't like this tick. The only time I'm like, this is an awesome tick, is you phone me and go, Joe, for some reason, an item that was $10 suddenly thinks it's 10 million, help me. I'm like, okay, we need to fix the average cost. That's when we tick this, but otherwise, guys, please don't. Like, it's my opinion though, chat to your accountants. If they can make you feel better, cool, but that is the downside of it. Does that make sense? Does that help you at all? Hopefully I explained that well. Yeah. So guys, I've got someone who's like, that definitely messed up their sales and costs and they would not advise it. Guys, for that reason, I don't. Because I've been part of investigations where this has happened and I'm like, oof, it's not great. In my opinion, there is a reason for it, but I wouldn't use it. Otherwise, guys, any other questions, anything else you would like to know? If not, that is it for the session. I hope that you have a wonderful and amazing day, a wonderful weekend. And guys, I will be back on the 8th with Sage Intelligence. Guys, I'm not going to be talking about customizing reports. It's just going to be on, these are the standard reports. This is what you need to do. I might show you some very basic errors. Just, hey, these are common. This is how you work around them. But it's going to be an overview on Sage Intelligence. Otherwise, have a wonderful day further. If you don't have any questions, you can log out and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully, guys, you found this informative. Guys, with regards to the group setup, this is your GL setup for inventory. You can't not link them. You do have to, yes. So depending on the linking, so the question is, do you have to? You have to fill in all this information. If it's not integrated, you will see it's just sales, purchases, and purchase variance. If it is integrated, you will see that it is sales, adjustment, cost of sales, inventory, count, variance. And yes, this is your GL setup for inventory, guys. You can't not link to a general ledger. Now, you don't have to go and create sub-accounts. You can have 20 different groups and they can all link to one sales account, one adjustments account. That's where I said, guys, you need to speak to your accountants and go, what is the best setup for your individual company? Should you have sub-accounts? Yes or no? Should you have just main accounts and different groups? But if you are going to set up inventory groups are basically your general ledger setup based on inventory. So you have to set them up. Okay, guys, I think that is the last question that I'm going to take today. Hopefully you don't have any others. I'm going to stop the recording here and I'll stick around just for a few more seconds if any of you have any other questions. Thank you so much.